Welcome back. Me Immortalites, another edition of Meanderings. Philosophizing out in the park. We are outdoors. There's greenery behind me. Yes. The sun is shining. It is very, very warm. It's going to get hotter. The skies are blue, but we are back here with the Mere Mortals. You got Juan here on this side.
Very blue today. Kyron here.
And we've got a few things to talk about in Meanderings today. There's quite a tumultuous amount of things. And I'm going to throw it to you because I think you've got probably the bigger cut of the things that we want to talk about. And this is, again, Meanderings as thoughts, ideas, little morsels of information that we've got in our mind. We want to essentially just vomit them out into the microphone to your beautiful ears. What have you got? What thoughts have you got for me?
Okay, so I'll start off with this one. So I feel like I've figured something out about Ethereum. Okay. I've always kind of struggled with it. I've never really dived too much into the EVM, the Ethereum Virtual Machine. I still don't have a good concept of what that is in my mind. So if this is totally ignorant, maybe you can help.
Starting to sound totally ignorant. This is good. By the way, for folks, if you want to know more about the EVM, like literally just go to ethereum.com or ethereum.org, whatever it is, and they've got a whole host of blogs and articles about the EVM, Ethereum, everything else.
Yeah, it's just I haven't put in the work, to be honest.
I've read every single article of those. Yeah, I made it a monthly goal ages ago to do that.
There you go, nice. There was just some things about the underlying thesis about it, which I actually don't like, or how it behaves. So, for example, slashing. I'm not really a fan of just slashing in general. It's kind of why I tended towards more
slashing to folks?
Yeah, so slashing is Ethereum's proof of stake system. So basically, it secures the network by you. When you hold some Ethereum, you can kind of lock that up in a contract of some sort, and then it's almost. How would you describe it? As in, it's like you're showing that you care about the system by putting something of value into it. And this is, I'm not great at explaining these sorts of things, to be honest. But slashing is when you don't play by the rules nicely, and you can get some of your stake that you've put up slashed, i.e. cut and taken away from you.
I think that's a good description.
I'm not a big fan of that. That's why I was more drawn towards Cardano than anything else. Tendency to lock up more and more. The Lido kind of paper Ethereum, which they've had. So that's the, once again, essentially, it was before you could extract it, and I still don't think you can. So you still can't. You can put stake in, but you can't extract it. I'm not a fan of non-liquid staking like that. Anyway, the sort of rules similar to how they change up their monetary policy. You never really know what's going to go on with it. Even some financial derivative stuff.
It is what happens with. I mean, we're talking about cryptocurrencies here, but yeah, if they have some sort of management CEO structure, a la anything else basically but Bitcoin, then you're going to get that.
Yeah, correct.
So again, Cardano has the same effect, BNB's got the same effect, everything's got the same effect.
Yeah, which is why I kind of view... I'm changing my view slightly on cryptocurrencies. I used to say there's only one cryptocurrency, and that's Bitcoin, and all the rest are crypto assets. I still kind of see that in my own mind, but if someone else is saying cryptocurrencies, I'll be like, they're a currency, much like limestone used to be a currency. Sure.
Well,
you can have rock.
You
can have rock as a currency.
Sure, but much like the US dollar as a currency.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so I'm not like super strict on that. There's only one cryptocurrency, but it's the best one in terms of monetary. The things that make money. Bitcoin seems to be the best one that I've come across just in my research. But one thing I do like about Ethereum is the access and creativity it gives to artists and creators. It kind of seems like it embodies a lot of the value for value principles, whereas you could maybe just say the value is maybe a bit more on shakier grounds. I trust Bitcoin is more valuable than Ethereum, for example. I'm actually thinking I'm not that comfortable holding the kind of base product, but I do like all the things that are being done on it. So the ability, the kind of financial stuff, DeFi, of being able to switch in and out of things, I think that's really cool. But then I'm just looking at Ethereum more and more, and I'm going, I just don't. It's almost too complex. The base kind of asset thing. It's ultrasound money. That sort of meme that's going around.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say Ether's ultrasound money.
Fuck off, because you told me about it for the first time when the Bankless guys You
But the bankless guy said it?
Yes, and you sent me that podcast, and you were saying, check out this. This is really interesting. So
well, I'll change my mind then on that. Yes, okay. I wouldn't today say that it's ultrasound money.
Yes, neither. So I'm just sort of thinking like, if I'm going to play around with Ethereum, I kind of only want to play around for the access it gives me to people like Tim Ferriss, with, as you've been saying a lot recently, with his Cockpunch.
I've got an interesting story about that.
Gary V with his sort of things. I kind of like the access you can get closer to people and perhaps what they're creating and being part of that. But I'm not actually sure I enjoy the ETH itself, the underlying thing, which then makes me question like, should I get any NFTs and things like that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, my thought immediately comes is, if you don't feel that way I say about the Ethereum as a product, let's talk about it as a product, why is Cardano then any better?
More just like the liquid staking, sort of like I can understand.
You can do liquid ETH staking.
How?
You can do, as in like, you can do side DeFi staking with ETH and get it
Lido.
more liquid. Yeah.
You mean Lido?
Yeah, so you can do.
That's not exactly the same thing.
Not exactly the same thing.
It's actually very different because you're getting a different product out of it.
True. But from a user's perspective, you can go and use a wallet and stake your ETH, and you can get some ETH back from it, right? In a direct way. And you're getting that through whatever means they're using. I wouldn't have any idea. But you can get ETH directly.
No. There's a bit different. So you've seen the stuff related to the Kraken and the staking? Okay. No. So the past couple of days, Kraken and I've seen some tweets that Brian Armstrong of Coinbase was saying as well, where regulators are kind of coming up to them, i.e. the SEC, and saying, that's the Securities Exchange Commission. We're getting into some weeds here. They come up to them and saying, like, you can't offer that staking product that they had. And so basically they're going to have to get rid of a lot of their staking things because they are acting as the financial intermediary. That's gotcha. And so basically a lot of the staking stuff that they've got was now you can't do that. Essentially, you get regulated to nothingness. And I was listening to a video from Charles Hoskinson on kind of the difference between the Cardano model, which is proof of stake as well, but there's no kind of financial intermediary. When I stake to a stake pool, I can take it out whenever I want. I'm not relying on them. Like the rules are kind of set in place, and I know the rules going into that relationship with that pool. So that
and just quickly, and who sets those rules?
The people who create it, but there's like the protocol, I guess, for some of it, and then you can change some parameters.
And by you change parameters is the owner of the stake pools.
Yeah, but there's no actual moment where they have ADA and then they have to manually like give it to me, I guess, which is I think the difference between that and the Ethereum one, which is
there is someone holding basically something and then having to pass it on as an intermediary.
Now look, once again, I'm not a financial person per se. I'm not a crypto person per se, so my ignorance is definitely on the higher ends of this. So in terms of what I'm talking about with certainty is let's say like 20 or 30%, something like that. And I'm more just expressing a feeling now, which is the more I'm starting to learn about these things, the more I'm like, I struggle to understand, in particular Ethereum though. I feel like I get Cardano a bit more, but Ethereum I'm struggling with.
Yeah, okay. I guess in my feeling, this wouldn't go into any technicalities. I kind of see, and I both hold Ethereum and ADA, as in Cardano, and I go, it just seems more evident right now that there is more you can do with Ethereum. Yeah, why? Because there's power of network, right? If you had to say right now, given everything being equal, Cardano might be the one that disappears because it just has less players operating in the system, right? There's a trueness to be said that, there might have been a better product than Google out there, but you sure as hell don't know about it because just Google operates with the most amount of people. Yeah. Same thing goes with at the moment. Microsoft integrating with ChatGPT. maybe it becomes a better product. It's still going to be a behemoth to try to get over the line to go past the point of what people are generally using.
Yep.
So, but I do agree to a point as well that holding Ethereum on its Ethereum sake is not enough. I go, it's not valuable enough for me, like it is to hold just Bitcoin. For me, I'm like, holding Bitcoin, fantastic. I totally see the value in that. There is a lot that the mechanism, the idea of an asset of value that it is independent of being, within the structures of all the systems that exist in today. Absolutely agree with that. Ethereum, a little bit different, of course. It's held by corporation or structures or organizations or people. It can be managed at any point. This is the same for basically everything else, unless they decide to just go on their own, or if it has such a system where it can't be operated by anyone. But let's just talk about Ethereum and like Cardano. At any one point, Charles Hoskinson or anybody else in Ethereum land could be like, we're just gonna mess this up, and it all of a sudden goes to zero, and you can't do a shit thing about it. There is aspects of it going.
Not necessarily sure of that, but how much power they actually have. Yeah.
Well, I would be curious to say if the EVM machine and whoever operates, whoever's actually maintaining and operating, if they just shit that completely, deleted it, got rid of it, I think it would create some havoc into the world of Ethereum. Cardano's got a similar thing, right? Then they have the Cardano virtual machine, or like a centralized machine or machinery that operates the actual Cardano protocol.
I think it's because there's all the nodes. I guess this would be the same with Ethereum, right? It's not like there's one database which if you just delete it, the whole thing goes down.
But there is some.
But there is a
sense of a central. There's some centrality powerhouse.
Yes. So in this case, it would be IOG, and so that's input output global, and then there's another one called IOHK, and between the two of them, there's some sort of relationship where there's an employment of coders and developers who work on the SIPs, Cardano improvement proposals, things like that. So there is, let's just say if Hong Kong got destroyed in a nuclear blast, something like that, and then all their offices, all their infrastructure, all that went. Yes, obviously there's going to be a reorganization of proposals of things like that, but the actual network itself shouldn't go down.
Gotcha.
Yes.
In any case, I kind of see it in the sense
But I mean, that's the same with Bitcoin Core, right? Like,
sure.
Bitcoin Core, got every person who touched Bitcoin Core or had submitted a pull request to the Bitcoin Core GitHub, or let's just say GitHub went down, then, the Bitcoin's going to struggle for a bit as well in terms of...
Would it?
Well, in terms of new upgrades, being able to do technology and things, which is much the same as how Cardano will struggle, or Ethereum. So, the whole point of decentralization. So then you can argue how decentralized they are. Well, Bitcoin's,
in reality, exactly, yeah.
Bitcoin's the most, from what I can tell, but...
Yeah, so, but, and I guess, but again, I would say then, for me, I see that view, and what you're saying from what they play out, as in like the utilization of then Ethereum. What I like about it is the smart contract, the ability to connect to individuals, social, groups, the like, where it becomes very hard in the existing sort of Bitcoin structure. Sure, as we were saying just before the podcast, there's now Bitcoin ordinals and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's worth talking about that.
Go and try and mint one.
Yeah.
Go try and mint something in Bitcoin ordinal. You'll be, promise you, there's only probably like 3 people listening to this podcast right now who even know how to do it. You have to have a Bitcoin node.
Capability.
You already have to have a Bitcoin node, and even then, some people are struggling to do it.
Yeah, probably need to use...
It's pretty hard. It's very, very hard. I didn't even try. I was like, I'm not doing this.
Which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's good in the sense. So I just subbed to Andreas Antonopolous' Patreon because he used to put all this stuff out.
Supporting Patreon.
Well,
Karen supporting Patreon, folks.
Give me. I think that was part of my notes as well.
Karen supporting Patreon. That's what I'm going to take away from this podcast.
For 1 month.
Supporting Patreon.
Because it is extremely depressing trying to use their service. It feels like...
I'm pretty sure I've never used it.
So I've used it once before. There was another podcast who we connected early on with, and I was like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
And my experience was very much similar to when I supported them. I'm paying for a downgraded experience. The experience of using the Patreon platform. I can even bring it up on my phone so you can just have a.
It's not worth it like paying for.
It's just like, you know, their movie player, their built-in video player, for example. There's you can't skip some sort of things. The functionality, the ability to sort by audio or video. Like I wanted to sort by video. There's none of that. It's just very restrictive.
It's pretty bare bones.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot there. So my whole experience of using it was distasteful. Let's just say, which is, and then it's like getting to the point of, well, I want to support Andreas. I really like him. I learn a lot from him, but I just can't do it in this way.
It surprises me that someone like Andreas wouldn't use the Valley for Valley model.
I want to send him so he does these Q&A type things. I'm going to send him one. So maybe I'll have to stay on another month until the next one comes out, because I think it comes out in like
but it's worth.
early March.
I mean, yeah, it's worth putting it out.
I want to bring it up. He's, you know, everyone's case is particular. One of the reasons he went away from YouTube was because he actually didn't like the cesspool that his comment system, and so he kind of wanted a paywall. And he does video. Video is much harder in terms of people getting access to it and whatnot. Yeah, I think it would suit him, but you know, I think value for value suits everyone. So
Exactly.
I got my own thoughts there. But he was saying about the ordinals that the problem with them is that it's been attempted so many times on Bitcoin before. There's like his 6th or 7th recall of something similar. Colored coins being the probably most well-known one. You've heard of them?
I think so. I haven't looked into it. Same with like the Pepe memes and stuff like that, aren't they, on Bitcoin as well?
Pepe memes, maybe, yeah. Pepe.
Nice.
Pepe. The Pepe. No, so he was just saying, like, it's been attempted tons of times before. He had a good kind of technical argument for it related to security and how the underlying security of things need to match. And so if you've got a really valuable JPEG, which is now on Bitcoin, like as part of the metadata of like a UTXO transaction, it's so complicated. He was just saying the security levels don't match up, and so you're more likely to get wrecked on Bitcoin, and so Bitcoin's not really suited for it.
Gotcha. And that's what I was going to get to the point in terms of like, so, and then you go, okay, what is the value, and why am I still quite like bullish in the sense of like the Ethereum and the Cardano and a few other things, right? It is unlike Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is used, like, I can see the utility of Bitcoin for one specific thing, and that is holding value as a digital asset in a very secure way that no one's got real access to but yourself. That's basically it, right? Which, awesome, does it. But it's not that great at the flexibility that something like an Ethereum, a Cardano, and a few others can play along. Now,
I see it more as Bitcoin is great for poor people problems. Cardano and Ethereum Ethereum probably is more rich people problems, i.e.
I would say that.
Creativity and things like that. And then
I would probably split it in the sense of Bitcoin is your answer to money. Everything else is, you're talking about application of technology or energy. So I mean, so with Ethereum, of course, it's the fact that it is an easier way to do contracts, coding, put code through to it, make it into different things. You know, there's a reason why there's so many people and volume of people across the world smashing their way into Ethereum, maybe some into Cardano. But at this point, honestly, I mean, I haven't looked into it deeply either, so I don't know how true this is. But like, I can't see anything overtaking the amount of money, volume, effort people are putting into Ethereum and building on Ethereum at this point. Like, I just can't see anything else coming above it unless they're just the most ridiculous product or a better alternative. And I just go, okay, for others, like maybe a Cardano and other things, you just couldn't play in that space anymore. Like, it's not like, oh, you're going to try and compete in this way. They've become just such a behemoth of what they use in the utility or the development. So I could see branching off utilization to utility to others, but I go, just seems pretty like rooted now that people are utilizing Ethereum for a lot of their things. And I go, that makes sense. Now, one of the things that I was going to share was, so we were talking about, again, why is it for me valuable to hold not so much Ethereum on its basis, like the actual asset, but you know the chain, or sorry, the side assets in the sense of NFTs or other things which give you access. And I have talked about Cockpunch quite a bit on this podcast.
Some Cockpunch!
This is Tim Ferriss's NFT, and the NFT is linked to some stories that come out in podcast form, as well as a few other things that are starting to come up. Now, I can see there's going to be a lot of fun behind it. Like, there's a lot of good stuff. If you listen to the Tim Ferriss podcast, he's talking to, what's his name? Ellis Lee, I think it is. Anyway, the creator of Exploding Kittens, and a few other things. Quite a lot of games, actually. And you can see that the way he's interacting and conversing with people it's about storytelling, it's about creating games, it's about all this sort of stuff. But one of the primary things, and I said this to you, and I can't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast. Elan Lee. One of the things I was saying to you either off or on the podcast is that I almost got the chance to have a conversation with Tim in amongst a group of other people, and I just wasn't there for it. It just didn't occur. So I was like, whatever, that's fine. And it wasn't, it's not token gated, as in you don't need a Cockpunch NFT for that to happen. You literally just have to be on that particular Discord when that happened. Mm-hmm. But an opportunity has come up, in essence, where it has been token gated, as in you need a Cockpunch for the NFT to do this. And that is, Tim's actually holding a conversation in South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. And you need a Cockpunch to be able to go into it. And it's they've already booked it out. It's like only 75 people are able to come, and it's a conversation with him and a guy who is he's called the mayor of a new social media app called Friends with Benefits. I don't know if you've heard of it before. It's a new social, it's like a Instagram equivalent, but it's like a new thing. I haven't really looked into it. Is it about
sex?
No, it's literally just about like a social platform. But it's called Friends with Benefits, and they shortened it with FWB, and I was like, I don't know, it's weird. Anyways, if someone knows about this, please let me know. I've really not. I was like, what? Anyways, so he's holding that, and I went, okay. See, this is the reason why it would be nice to have an NFT and access like this, because there is probably next to a 0% chance I would ever be able to be in the same space with Tim Ferriss unless it's like the stars aligned. I'm like at an airport or some conference like this. But all of a sudden, here's an opportunity of being like quite close in proximity. Now, I made the call out to Tim Ferriss. So I tweeted, so like when I saw this tweet come up, because they shared it across broadly, I made a tweet and I was like, starting to look at flights from Australia. Now, this is next month. Month. And the main Cockpunch account liked it. And I sent the following Twitter message. Now, I can share with you so we can put a little screenshot of it. Yeah. But if that one gets a reply, as I said, Tim Ferriss, if you allow me to have a conversation with him, like with you, for 25 minutes. I said 25 minutes. 10 minutes about the NFT, 15 minutes about the generalities of life.
Yeah. In
a podcast sort of conversation for it. I will make the trip over from Australia to go to the conversation.
Yeah.
And also to go and do the podcast. I'll go and do that in person, plus maybe stay so I can be at South by Southwest in Austin. Already looked into the flights. I can make it work. Okay. I can make the time. So it's on your court, Tim Ferriss. It is on your court. Do you want to have a conversation with the mere mortals? Better put it forward. But, this is what I love. There's sort of access stuff that I'm like, sign me up. Because obviously if I was in the vicinity or the area, like if I lived in the US, I'd be there, of course, right? And I go, where in the hell are you ever going to get accesses like that to be able to go and have a chat or potentially have a conversation with a Tim Ferriss or insert else, whoever else? And I go, yeah, cool, sign me up. That's, again, it just reminded me, this is why I really, really enjoy this sort of utilization of Ethereum, specifically NFTs, to create communities, memberships like that, where it's like, yeah, that's worth money. That's absolutely worth money. So I'll wait for Tim Ferriss to reply.
Were you the one who bought up, what was it, 5% of the Donald Trump NFTs or things like that? Was that you?
No, I did not. So that I think the deal with the Donald Trump one was like if you buy 46 or 47 or 45 of his NFTs and you get invited to a lunch with him or something like that. No. Yeah. I did not fix.
Why'd you choose 25 minutes? Just out of interest.
Because I once heard, it might have been from Gary Vee or somebody else, that it is often better to say a very specific number because they are more likely to say yes, especially if it's shorter than just to go to throw out the larger time.
Yeah,
so,
like an hour.
It is much harder. Like if you say to someone who's quite busy or important, whatever you want to insert here, hey, I want an hour with the time, fucking forget it. They're never going to say yes. Like unless you are top of the world, Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss equivalent, maybe. I'm immortal, you got no chance. But you might have a chance if you just put out a very specific, very short time frame, where they almost could say, "Oh, it's like a snack break. It's like a short break." Cool. Okay, they might say yes. And this was also something that Cal Fusman talked about with Tim Ferriss a long time ago when he talked to Gorbachev, I believe it was. Where and I can't remember the story specifically, but basically,
like 5 minutes or something,
basically, he had no time. He was basically given nothing, and he was like, "Well, I've got to have this conversation," and so he had to use like the first question to be like a really pointed, really hard question that made Gorbachev be like, "Okay, no, I want to talk more," and like they had like not admin people, but whatever. People were coming in being like, "Oh, no, he's got to go. And he was like, "No, I'm continuing the podcast." So, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek in the sense that I would say 25 minutes, but maybe drive it to be like, okay, make it longer, like as long as possible, like draw it out as much as possible in that sort of regard. So play with the line.
Sure.
You got to put some rules to break the rules. So, but anyways, I wait for Tim for more.
Okay.
For more on this.
Interesting. Get back to him, Tim.
Yeah.
So let's get into something as slightly crypto related, but not as I'm on more firm ground with what I'm talking about in this one.
Okay.
So we were talking about calling it quits before we begin the other week in the music episode, and public speaking. I find it hard to imagine I'd ever be okay at it. So basically, what happened was I went to a Bitcoin meetup here recently. Mm-hmm. And they were doing this thing called a soapbox, where you get 5 minutes to just present something that you found interesting in Bitcoin this last week. So it's kind of like open call to the audience. They put a little 5-minute counter on the screen, and so you just talk about whatever.
That's cool.
I'd seen that going in, and I was like, oh, beautiful.
There's the opportunity.
I should talk about the podcast.
So you talked about the podcast.
People kind of know about it, and I didn't talk about ours. I didn't, I really wanted to make sure I wasn't shilling. I dislike shilling, so I was basically saying from the get-go, hey, first of all, how many people here listen to podcasts? Everyone chucked their hand up, so I was like, beautiful. All right, you might find this interesting. And then I talked about podcasting 2.0 and how you can use Bitcoin to do this value for value sort of transfer and whatnot. And I was just telling people like, hey, this stuff is available. If you want to know more, you can test out these kind of things. This is why podcasting is actually very similar to Bitcoin in terms of the peer-to-peer nature of it. All of these things I've had in my head and have yet to put down in that kind of PowerPoint presentation that I was threatening a year ago, something like that.
No, I don't think it was a year ago.
6 months ago, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. In any case, I did that, and what happened was, the 10 minutes leading up to it, I started to get nervous. I was like, they're coming to an end. And I was sitting in my chair and, we're watching someone presenting. I wasn't throwing stuff in because there's a lot more people there who are much more Bitcoiners than me and have something to say about everything.
Yep.
And really love to deviate. So he was trying to go over just the basics of cold storage, using different wallet types. What's an XPub? What's a public address, sort of thing. These people would just go off on the most random of tangents. It's like, come on, rein it in, people. Anyway, I saw this drawing to a close and was like, I started to feel a little bit nervous. And that's when I went, oh, okay, I'm probably not going to enjoy this. This isn't going to be great. I don't thrive under pressure. Like, being non-nervous is much better for me than being nervous. So as I got up, I had this really bizarre experience where it was, I honestly don't know if I could describe it as the world zooming in or the world zooming out. But there was definitely not this feeling of how it's just me talking to you here. There was kind of 20 people littered around this room, and I just had an experience of zooming, either in or out. I'm not sure which way. And it was very bizarre, and I did not like it at all. And so when I was presenting, I could definitely hear in my own voice, the tightness, like my voice was probably like an octave higher, something like that. More pauses, more ums and ers, more, the whole point of a soapbox is for it not to be a presentation, but man, I would have loved a script to just have read off. It would have been so much easier. Yeah. And it was just that feeling of all eyes on me it's like, it's similar to intense approach anxiety, but it's actually happening. It's like, there's actually people there fucking watching you. It's that feeling of being watched. I actually really dislike that. of that sort of public presentation type deal. So what can I take from this? Well, one thing is I'm really glad I did it because it's actually saved me a lot of time, because I was planning on volunteering to do a full value for value presentation at this Bitcoin thing. That's great if I want to get good at public speaking, but I don't actually want that. That would kind of be one of those skills where I would be getting the skill just to say I've gotten the skill. There's no value in my eyes in the future. I don't see myself ever becoming an Andreas Antonopolous type person, being able to speak in front of a huge crowd of people, of presenting something in a public square or things like that. And it's actually saved me a lot of time, because I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm this value for value presentation, which I want to do, I'm going to make it into a podcast form, something I thrive on much more, being able to speak into a camera, either one-on-one with you, but more likely just me and a camera and me talking into it. So, that's I just wanted to express that to people. There's probably not going to be any live shows of the Mere Mortals in the near future. A lot of podcasts, when they get bigger, tend to do this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, people. I don't. That would not be enjoyable for anyone. But yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on public speaking.
Yeah, I mean, mine's the opposite of you, right? And I mean, I kind of talked about this in the first acting class that I did, where it was that same feeling. It was like, oh, all eyes are on you. You're literally just presenting something that you don't even know. Like this, it increases that to the point of...
Did you have that zooming effect at all?
Yeah, I think it was like a similar zooming effect, but just imagine like talking something or presenting something that you don't even know about either. It's like, well, what the hell? And it is in front of people. Everyone's watching you with an expectation plus a camera. So like, it's quite a bit. But, fast forward into doing it for 4 weeks, and at the very end of it, I loved it. It was good. It was fun. Like, all of a sudden I was like, yes, this is awesome. Let's do this more.
Okay. Have you finished them now?
Finished all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I got invited to do the advanced lessons. I had to tell David, though, unfortunately, I'm not going to partake any further. I thought about it, but I went, it did take a lot of energy. Like, it was a lot of energy to do it right. Yeah. So I went, I need to spend energy elsewhere at this point. That's what it is. But so one, I really enjoyed it. From a public speaking perspective, I see it the opposite way. I go, I think it is different in your case for sure, but in the general majority, I'd say you need to learn to inoculate yourself to that sort of stuff and do it more and more and more and more, because it is going to be one of the most crucial.
Why?
I think it's going to be a really crucial skill to have, because it. As you say, with the one-on-one conversations with people, that's different. That is very different. But to be able to command your own presence comfortably in group settings, in bigger settings, to be yourself and communicate a structured idea or a non-structured idea or your own story amongst masses is an incredibly difficult but valuable skill in the generality of life.
But for the general people? Because
let's think about it. So think about it this way. You are coming from it you're not working. You're not in the workforce.
Yeah.
You're not having to... so the majority of individuals that I imagine at the moment in my mind's eye who are 16 to 25-year-olds, let's just say. You might be in a position where you're having conversations, let's say if you're in the workforce, in a traditional workforce, where you might be working as a tradie or in the office or whatever it may be. A large percentage of people, not everyone, will want to at some point move beyond a certain level and be at a manager level or at a group or overlooking people. Now that's not the case for everybody, and in those cases, I might say, okay, that's not as valuable.
There's one thing I want to differentiate here. I think there's a big difference between public speaking to a group of unknown people and then a group of known people. So if you're making the case that it's good to get better at speaking in front of work colleagues who you know intimately, i.e. you work with them day in, day out, that's a different case. I'm thinking more...
And no, I'm not saying this is like the day in, day out. No. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, as you scale up in any type of position, right? If you're in a workforce or in other places, I can think of like different that's not even in the workforce, changing jobs. So let's just take managers and up. You move from one job to another job, you don't know the people. If you're trying to get something over the line in terms of a team sport, if you're trying to do something you look after your own company and you're looking after a group of people, new people come in, there is certain value in the ability to publicly speak to people that you know, people that are angry at you that you know, people that are frustrated with you that you know, and then the people that you don't know. And this also includes you're talking conversations broadly, as in, hey, you've got let's say you're trying to get over the line, I don't know, at the neighborhood freaking something that you, in a townhouses of 100 townhouses, and you have to play out a part about a particular issue that's happening into your townhouse, and you got to do it in front of like the 80 owners or something like that. You've got to have the ability to get up, present your point, state it accurately, state it with enough confidence with your own things, hold your point, all sorts of stuff. This happens all the time. I would backbush and say it is invaluable to you, not at this stage, because I can't imagine a single one of those examples that I can think that apply to you. Like I definitely can't imagine you public speaking because there's no need for you to do it.
I would say this is worthwhile for maybe 1% of people. Just by default, as you said, for people wanting to rise up, not everyone can be managers. You can have one manager for every 10 people or something like that. By default, the masses are going to be the more popular. So I think this is great for people who want to maybe strive forward, but as a general rule that people should learn, no, I think it's a useless skill. Well,
I'll probably say, so let's just, so you say 1%, but I'd go, if I look at our immediate friends, most of them would find more value in having a good public speaking than not having public speaking.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm thinking, Joe would have more value for public speaking because, well, one, he wanted to become a better leader and public speaker. So I know for him that he would be more valuable. I know that for someone like our friend who looks after a pharmacy, public speaking would be a better approach there.
Why?
Well, the value of being able to communicate with people and ideas, especially some people that you don't know. So this is a new employee coming in.
This is one-on-one, man. This is not in front of a big group.
So are you denoting public speaking as definition of speaking in front of a large group?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would say
I think that's what most people would.
If it's that the case, then maybe there is a reduced percentage amount. Then I would say that public speaking doesn't have to be a public speaking to the group of like 50 other people. It is the ability to have a conversation with two brand new people that you have nothing to, like, you don't know about.
Oh, no, I don't consider that public speaking.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I would still hold the line though, for sure. I'll say for you, useless.
Yeah, of course.
You're not performing actions or living in a world where you're ever going to need that. Like, no, that's not where you're headed towards.
I just think for most people it wouldn't be. Like, most people are hairdressers, labourers, carers, menial workers of some sort. I just don't think there's that many people who get in front of large groups and would either want to or need to do that. Even in their extracurricular activities, playing soccer and you're the captain and you're doing a stirring speech. Once again, that's 1 in 15 who needs to be able to do that.
I don't know. I think, and maybe this is mine as well. Maybe there's bias in the world that I'm seeing with it for sure. I think that there's a level of bias on the people you hang around where I can't imagine any of them to have any need for public speaking, and rightly so. Right, they're not in those spaces. But I go, shit, fucking every single individual I've probably ever met in my work career, thousands of people, have all probably needed or wanted to have better public speakers. Not that I've asked them directly, but my view or judgment view would be like, hey, they probably would have wanted to have a better public speaking level, even if they are just doing it a more individual work, as in they have no need to be better public speakers that I've seen directly go to things like Toastmasters because they want to become better public speakers, even though they're developers. Yeah. So I go, if I've seen it directly with like 20, 30 people, it feels like it to me, for hundreds more, I go, doesn't feel like 1%, feels a lot more, but that's definitely the bias that's the spheres that I also run. So I go, yeah, okay, I've also got to remember that. That's probably also a good point. So I don't know. I don't know what the population.
We'll leave it up to the boostergrams. They can tell us what's what.
Boostergram it. Well, boostergram it and just say pro public speaking or don't need public speaking.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think, because definitely these conversations that we have here are not public speaking. That's for sure. Nor an interview with someone else. That's not a public speaking definition, I guess, of what we're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else?
No, I think that'll suit me. Yep.
All right, folks, we're going to leave it at that. I think, I don't even know. Well, no, actually, an hour. Meanderings is a chance for us to communicate ideas, thoughts, and things that are going around in our minds. But Boostergram is a chance for you to communicate back to us what you thought about our podcast, and you're able to do so with some value attached. Now, if you've been streaming through listening to the Mere Mortals podcast, or you've been, right up there throwing Boostergrams, and we know you. We obviously know you by name to the people who are sending that through. One, it's appreciated. But for those folks who are listening to this or have listened to this podcast and go, I'm interested. I want to support. There's some value here. I want to give you that value back. You can do so. You can go through, check out newpodcastapps.com. You can go and join the Value for Value sphere, ecosystem, and you can send some value back. Use things like Fountain. I enjoy Fountain. It's probably the most schmick out there in terms of utilization and sending through and listening to podcasts. You can even go in there, listen to podcasts, get free sats, and send it out to people. It is going to be a really easy way for you to understand and play around with it. So all we ask is that if you have enjoyed it, go play around, go try it out, see what you like, see what you don't like, share it with us, tell us, see how we go.
Yeah, the other thing is I'm looking at moving the book reviews. I have already signed up with Blueberry, and there's some things I want to do on there. So some stuff's going to break for sure. A lot of stuff's going to break. Mm-hmm. I'll talk about it in the actual book review channel, maybe in the book recap.
Now, how long for listeners? So, any for me. So, if I'm going to record some book reviews, am I still putting them in Buzzsprouts?
No, we'll talk about it after this.
Okay, cool.
There's some complexities we need to deal with. But yeah, just funnily enough, even though I didn't import the Mere Mortals feed, I had at some point signed up for Blueberry just to check it out, I think, and added a whole bunch of different shows into it. And it even me signing up or doing something has screwed up something somewhere for the Mere Mortals feed. So the pictures aren't coming through on Fountain anymore. So if you're seeing weird stuff over there, that's
get ready for it to be broken, folks.
Well.
Get ready for it to be broken. Set your expectations at it being broken. All right, folks, we're gonna leave it there. Thank you very much. Meanderings. That's all. One out.
Oh, guard up.
Good.